We are inside the office of the Prime Minister, getting connected to a pilot coding program and introducing you to an intervention program for students who find themselves in disputes with their peers. Welcome to another informative edition of Jamaica Magazine. I am Adrian Atkinson. Stay tuned for the news and much more in the next half hour.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
I'm saying to every single Jamaican, you will decide how this pandemic ends. If you wear your mask, if you maintain the physical distance, and if you decide to take the vaccines when it is your time, the pandemic will end. But if in frustration or just ignorance, we do not take responsibility, then the pandemic could end badly, including the loss of more lives.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
Good day, I'm Theodore Henry, and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, September 14. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says he is awaiting the outcome of a report into allegations that persons died because of the oxygen shortage which affected the island recently. According to Mr. Holness, the health authorities are currently compiling the report for him to peruse. The Prime Minister was also quick to remind the public that the lack of medical-grade oxygen was beyond the control of the suppliers, as the world has been experiencing an increased demand for the COVID-19 treatment.
One of the challenges, of course, is that many of the persons who would have unfortunately passed would have also had comorbidities and other issues underlying. So there has to be definitely an investigation into identifying what actually was the cause. So I would await that before I make any further pronouncement. I would just want to say generally, however, that, this is the definition of a crisis. A crisis situation is one in which the resources that you have at your disposal are stretched and not sufficient to address the challenge that you have at hand.
Mr. Holness was addressing reporters while on a recent vaccination mobilization and public education campaign in Northeast St. Andrew and Central Kingston. In the meantime, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says vaccination ambassadors have been deployed to communities. The Prime Minister says so far there's been an increase in the vaccination take-up due to the work of vaccination ambassadors.
There are many reasons why persons are not taking the vaccines, and having the conversation sometimes helps to resolve some of the skepticism, the fear, and the lack of knowledge. So I'm very hopeful that the community mobilization will reinforce the national message that is being put out by the Ministry of Health and generally by the government of Jamaica.
Up to September 13, over 647,000 doses of vaccines have been administered, with more than 471,000 of them accounting for first doses. Health and Wellness Minister Dr. Christopher Tufton is reassuring parents of children eligible to take the Pfizer COVID-19 vaccine that it is safe. Dr. Tufton says children aged 12 and older are being encouraged to take the jab, as there's been no evidence of adverse reaction to the vaccine.
If you look at countries where the Delta variant is dominant right now, more and more children are getting the virus and more children are dying. So that should be a warning to us that we cannot shelter totally in this environment our children or any of us without the vaccination as a solution. I'm encouraging all Jamaicans to participate.
Minister Tufton was speaking during a tour of community vaccination sites in Hannibal, Westmoreland and St. James. He says Western Jamaica continues to represent one of the higher points of positivity for COVID-19, which is why the ministry has been ramping up vaccination efforts in these areas. The minister says surveillance and monitoring are also being carried out. Parents are being encouraged to maintain open communication with school administrators to ensure their children's educational needs are being met. Acting Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, Dr. Grace McLean, made the plea during a recent virtual parents' town hall meeting.
Parents, another 5, 15, 20 years from now, we do not want to be looking back at those children who would have been severely affected by this pandemic that we didn't cause on ourselves and say that this is a lost generation. So we are prepared to do everything that we possibly can to assist in ensuring that your children access the type of education that will make them into the kind of citizens who are socially acclimatized to a civilized society.
Dr. McLean says the ministry also communicates directly through email with parents and children to provide up-to-date information on matters concerning their education. Since the start of the new school year on September 6, institutions have been conducting remote classes due to COVID-19. It's expected that once the vaccination rate among eligible children reaches 65% and above, a determination will be made on the resumption of face-to-face classes. And finally, $323 million will be pumped into improving roads in North Trelawney. Minister without portfolio in the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation, Everald Warmington, made the disclosure during a recent tour of the parish. Upgrades will include asphalting, patching and drainage improvement. Minister Warmington says $218 million has been set aside for the roadway between Wakefield and Deeside. $20 million each has been allocated for Phase 1 of the Rio Bueno to Jacksontown Road, Deeside to Dromelley and Saltmarsh to Kent. The installation of a box culvert at the Perth Town fording will cost $20 million, while $5 million will go towards road patching in Martha Brae.
And I'll be coming back because this allocation is not enough to address what I've seen here today. So we have to look at it again, and my job is to go through with these members of parliament, particularly the 19 new members of parliament, and try and address the situation there. So I'll be back to look at others to see how much I can improve the situation and assist the member of parliament to be a good and true representative of the people.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Theodore Henry. Thanks for watching.
For those of us who do not believe that COVID is real and that it is here, have you been to one of those hospitals where the wards are overflowing with patients who are trying to breathe and talk at the same time, but find it so impossible to do so? Or have you seen someone die in front of you, trying to make the next breath to stay alive? So my fellow Jamaicans and colleagues, whether you believe it or not, COVID is real. So I implore you, social distance. Wash your hands, wear your mask, sanitize. Along with that, we need to keep our immune system nice and healthy, so you drink lots of water, eat your fruits and vegetables. But whether we believe it or not, COVID is here, it is here to stay, it's going to be the new norm. And remember, when you behave irresponsible, you expose all of us. So do the responsible thing.
The Prime Minister and his team continues to urge Jamaicans to get vaccinated and help the country resume normal activities. Next, Jamaica House Weekly unlocks how the Office of the Prime Minister promoted that message and other development interventions in the previous week.
Prime Minister attends inaugural Africa CARICOM Summit, continues vaccine mobilization and public education campaign, and remembers 3 outstanding Jamaicans. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Anthony Morgan. The National COVID-19 Vaccination Operationalization Task Force is now in force. The task force held its first meeting recently, where work started to streamline the national vaccination program. The group will liaise with the Ministry of Health and Wellness to scale up the public and private sector vaccination initiative. It's expected that the program will become more efficient, seamless, and accessible for all Jamaicans.
A large factor that accounts for why people don't come out and take the vaccine is the convenience issue. The main objective, therefore, is them to reduce the wait time and make it more convenient. If you unpack that, then you would want to have more sites open more regularly, and sites that are in close proximity to population centers and sites that are easily accessible. If you go a little bit deeper, it means we need more vaccinators to man the sites.
Led by Professor Gordon Shirley, the task force comprises the Ministry of Health's Permanent Secretary Dunstan Bryan and Chief Medical Officer Dr. Jacqueline Bissesa McKenzie. Other members include Office of the Prime Minister Consultant Alok Jain and Colonel Marklin Lloyd of the Jamaica Defence Force. Businessman Peter Miledo, former Chief Medical Officer Dr. Sheila Campbell Forrester, and Professor Lloyd Waller of the University of the West Indies round out the task force.
This summit is the fulfillment of the vision of Garvey, Mandela, Nkrumah, Nyerere, and other Pan-Africanists who spoke of the manifest potential and greatness to be achieved from unified engagement.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness's rallying call at the inaugural Africa CARICOM Summit held virtually last Tuesday. Under the theme Unity Across Continents and Oceans, Mr. Holness urged participants to unleash the untapped potential available within Africa and the diaspora in the Caribbean.
There are indeed real prospects for exchanges in sports, culture, education, tourism, and commerce between our regions to improve economic benefits and enhance people-to-people connections. This would narrow the geospatial and psychological separation, reclaim our historical connections, and celebrate ourselves as members of the African diaspora.
On Wednesday, the Prime Minister visited several Kingston and St. Andrew communities to ramp up support for the island's national vaccination program.
The only way for us to come out of this, both the country and your household and your family and your community, is for us to develop immunity. Immunity is the strong fence against the virus coming into our population. If you are immune, and you are immune, and you are immune, and you are immune, Corona can't come through our fence.
Up to September 10, over 613,000 doses of COVID-19 vaccines were administered. This means the state is on track to dispense the 700,000 doses targeted for the end of September. And while urging persons to take the jab, Mr. Holness said the government was not making the vaccine mandatory. The Prime Minister said before any consideration was given to that mandate, the state would have had to exhaust all measures to properly inform the nation about the benefits of the vaccine.
So that we are not just jumping over the rights of the people, right, without them being properly informed as to why it is being done. So my being here, moving around, driving around, talking to people, is to ensure that I can show to a court of law or anyone who will be critical of any mandate, or as you call it, mandate or compulsory vaccination, we would be able to show that the government exhausted a program of public education.
Prime Minister Andrew Holness extended condolences to the families and friends of 3 Jamaican stalwarts who passed away over the weekend. On Friday, Jamaica's first public defender, Howard Hamilton, died at age 85. Mr. Holness described Hamilton's 60 years of service as an inspiration for many in the legal profession. On Saturday, Mr. Holness remembered Dr. Rose Davies as one of Jamaica's most outstanding early childhood education specialists. Dr. Davies is the former head of the Institute of Education at the University of the West Indies, Mona, and was bestowed the Order of Distinction Commander Class. And on Sunday, Prime Minister Holness expressed a deep sadness at the passing of the songbird of Jamaica, Karen Smith. Mr. Holness remembered Smith as one of the most gifted cabaret performers who truly captured the essence of what it means to light up a room. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more of the news stories coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
The Cannabis Licensing Authority is committed to supporting the creation of a regulatory framework for the growth and sustainability of Jamaica's medical cannabis industry. We carefully assess application forms for businesses and individuals interested in becoming partners in the industry. Along with other ministries, departments of government and agencies, the authority endeavors to preserve the integrity of the industry through compliance. This is all done to ensure that the industry is operating in conformity with Jamaica's international obligations. Call or visit our website to find out more about the work of the Cannabis Licensing Authority.
The new school year began last week, and for many that meant orientation to get them ready for the mostly online learning that will take place until COVID numbers are brought under control. In addition to the regular curriculum, this year, 2,000 students in 20 schools will be oriented to the skill of coding. The Education Minister explains the process and purpose next.
Computers, apps and websites are some of the true representations of today's highly digital world. But without coding, none of these electronic hard and softwares would be operational. Coding is simply the language of technology. It is the art of telling a computer what you want it to do by typing in step-by-step commands for it to follow. It's no secret that coding is required for all digital natives, and Jamaica is in on the action. In fact, our government is taking steps to introduce this necessary skill to students through its Pilot Coding in Schools program. In a historic move, the Ministry of Education, in partnership with Amber Innovations Group Limited, introduced the Pilot Coding in Schools program.
The objective of the pilot program is to develop skills such as logical and critical thinking, problem solving, collaboration, teamwork, mathematics, and to instill confidence in kids through coding.
Under the program, classes in coding computer applications will be incorporated in the regular school curriculum.
The pilot program will be conducted across 20 schools with approximately 2,000 students. The classes are conducted for an hour and a half, twice in a week, and it will be for a period of 3 months.
Coding classes are currently being conducted through Zoom or Google Classroom, and the program is already getting great feedback.
This coding class has benefited me to learn more about the input and output devices so I could help my fellow classmates and to help me to understand more about the computer.
The coding training has allowed me to be more open-minded about the technological industry and the associated job opportunities. It has also helped me to develop problem-solving skills and expand my creativity.
I do understand things now I didn't know about the computer, and I know it will benefit me a lot in the future.
The Amber Innovations Group's online platform is being used to teach the students coding with instructor oversight. Participants also get a chance to practice coding concepts through activities on the company's online platform.
The Amber Group is delighted and excited that we have another opportunity to expand and transform how coding is taught across the island, and to realize a vision of making Jamaica the next Silicon Valley of this region. This partnership will result in students being engaged in coding from as early as 8 years old. Just think about what this means for these students and how we are transforming their outlook and ultimately their world.
Coding not only improves students' technical and soft skills, it ultimately equips them with the knowledge and mindset they need to be outstanding digital engineers of tomorrow.
Without coding, there wouldn't be any apps. And I like apps because I'd like to create my own fashion designing app, and coding will help me to do that.
I know that we won't really see the benefit of it like right now, but come back 5 years down the line and these students, you're going to be amazed at what they'll be able to do with the computers. They're talking about apps, creating apps, and all of that is going to be amazing because you're catching them at a point where their minds are so open to all this information, all this knowledge, and they will have so much power, believe it or not, in terms of understanding the computer, but also in terms of giving the computer instructions to do things, and it's going to be a wonderful feeling for these students.
It is the ministry's hope that over time, the program will grow to incorporate more schools and students.
My job is to ensure that every man, woman and child maintain good health at all times.
Our primary function is to ensure that government services are delivered effectively and efficiently.
We are building forward
together.
We hope this new school year will be a successful one for all students. And while the learning is taking place online so far, the goal is to wrestle the pandemic under control and return to face-to-face activities. With that, of course, we know comes more opportunities for students to have conflicts with each other. Fortunately, there is help to be had.
Our journey unfolds in different ways, different paths trodden by the unique whirls and ridges of our footprints. For some, that journey will never make contact with the wrong side, while for others, conflict will become a reality, even as a child. That's where the Dispute Resolution Foundation's School Suspension Intervention Program, SSIP, comes in, making help available for both children and parents.
The Dispute Resolution Foundation provides a safe space for children where they can freely express themselves. So here they are not judged or cursed or bashed or any such thing. So that makes it easier for us to find the underlying issues that need addressing.
So the School Suspension Intervention Program emerged in 2006 as a result of the growing surge of crime and violence in the Spanish Town community, to support education officers or educators and persons who work with young people. And the service we provide is a rehabilitative program for students who are at a risk of suspension, those who have been suspended. That's our main focus here in the SSIP. First of all, we have to have a referral. The referral may come from educational institutions. It may also come from, let us say, the family court or CPFSA. Once we receive that referral, we engage the student in an intake session, followed by one-on-one session, after which they will join the psychoeducational group sessions. Following that particular session, we have another one-on-one session. At this point, there are times where we see the need to invite parents and other family members or those a part of the conflict that probably led to the student being referred to us in the first place. After that second one-on-one session, we oftentimes do a post-assessment that will help us to put together our release letter. Now, at the time that we'd be putting together this release letter, of course, there may be an opportunity to refer to another external agency, for example, Child Guidance Clinic. Apart from that, however, we will engage in follow-up sessions with the students.
After 15 years of successful operation, the doors of opportunities that the program has opened to children who are at risk of suspension or those who have been suspended has certainly been something to talk about.
Students are a bit reluctant at times on their first day, especially because they never really see the need for them to be here, as the stigma attached to the program is that, bad picnic, come this side and all of that. But after they understand the program, it's explained to them and what they'll achieve here, they never want to leave at the end.
And that certainly sounds accurate, especially as it aligns with the testimonies of Nicholas Golding and Shamar Steele, now reformed thanks to the program.
My principal introduced me to the program. Well, I was introduced to the program because of some late going to school and some trouble that I was given at school. So I was placed here to get around certain edges that need to be dealt with.
I got into a fight with one of my classmates, didn't get suspended. And the principal ended up sending me on our program, learn to control my anger, and hopefully have a certain bad situation.
Well, it helped in a majority of ways because it helps me to counteract with others on a better level, or to deal with disputes that involve being under control and how to react to certain people and how to walk away from certain things that is unnecessary. Some of the things that they use to help me is one-on-one sitting down with me, helping me to go through certain emotional problems and how to deal with certain problems.
They teach me how to control my anger and teach me effective techniques, how to manage my anger, like walk away and take a deep breath, or just think about something different and relax my muscle, and how to resolve conflict between me and my peer or someone else. Since we've been through so much and I end up start doing movie based on my situation, my movie them, I write them on things that I learn. All of these positive changes is really because I was in the program. I would encourage other person in a similar situation to join the program because they can learn how to control their anger, avoid certain bad situation, put themselves in any trouble, and learn to resolve conflict between them and their parents or their peer or family members.
I would encourage others to be a part of the program because this program helps you in a lot of ways, emotionally, physically, all type of ways that you think that many others, you cannot talk to them about certain things, but these people give an ear to your problem.
We have some marvelous response. We have such life-changing opportunity for them. This is their second chance program. We've had moments where students, literally, we are still mommy, daddy, uncles, and aunties for many, even years after exiting the program. Imagine that. They'll still come back wanting to give their time to other students in terms of mentorship. So it's a lifelong relationship that we build with them, which I think speaks to the impact of the program on these beneficiaries.
The following is brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
In our free society, violence happens every day. And we, the people who suffered this violence today, inflict it on our own. And worst, defend their use as necessary to discipline our children, pick no forget lick, spare the rod and spoil the child. Necessary as a show of love to our intimate partner, she believe him love her while him beat her. And necessary to bring order to households and community. Him violate, so him for dead. Let us all commit to protecting our freedom from violence.
The proceeding was brought to you by the Office of the Prime Minister.
That's all the time we have for you today. Want to see more? Visit our website, jis.gov.jm. Don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel if you have not done so already. Remember to like and follow us on all the major social media platforms. And of course, never forget that COVID-19 is still among us. Follow the protocols, vaccinate and stay safe. Until next time, I'm Adrian Atkinson wishing you a good evening.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.